the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast.
What smells so bad?
It's strong, but you'll get used to it. Now here's your hosts, Nick Stevenson and
buddy.
Chris Clark.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time again. Whatever time of day it is, wherever you may be listening in the world, you've just tuned in to episode 7 of the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. You know the deal by now. My name's Nick Stevenson. My man Chris Clark's in the building. What's going on, fella?
What's up, my brother?
Hey, man. I'm proud to be here at episode 7 of the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. And it is all in the family, part 3. And I am proud to introduce everybody to my baby brother, a.k.a. JT, a.k.a. DJ Mulatto, Joshua Stevenson, in the building. What's good, bro?
Man, how y'all doing today?
Doing great. Doing great. Glad to have you here. And your lovely significant other is also with you. Ily, what's going on?
Hey, guys.
Alrighty. So I know you're a little bit nervous about doing this. And I promise you, we're going to make you sound good. By the time you're done, you're going to get all the phone calls trying to get you on the radio.
He does it to me every week. Every week.
So, no, but we're going to have a good time. I've been really proud of what we've done with this All in the Family series. Kind of giving people a behind the scenes, behind the curtain look at just what our family dynamic is.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I especially wanted to make sure I got you on here. You've been shouted out on this podcast a few times.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
First off, man, let me say that just being here, man, I'm proud to be here because, you know, I remember you coming to me a few months ago and just like, hey, man, I was thinking about doing a podcast. And, you know, as you talk to some of the episodes, sometimes the self-doubt that comes in that you deal with.
Right.
To be sitting here right now with microphones and headphones and we're sitting here doing it, you know, that's, you know, you spoke it into existence. And I'm proud of both of y'all, man, that I really enjoy the show, especially at work, pop my headphones in and, you know, you guys had me rolling.
We appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
I've definitely learned more about you guys since y'all started this, and even you know, as my brother, I've learned more about you just listening to the show. You know,
Yeah,
so it's been
we're
good.
trying to do the damn thing, man. That's what
it.
we're trying to do. And this whole thing was about connecting with people. And you could probably attest to this. Sometimes in your life, the people who cut for you the hardest are not necessarily the people that are closest to you, because the people closest to you, they know you and they know your flaws. They know all the things that you don't do well, right?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
so sometimes people on the outside looking in, they get super excited, like, oh, Nick's starting a podcast. They don't know anything about me other than maybe what they know from work or in happenstance coming across each other. So they get hype about it. And sometimes the people who are closest to you in certain situations just don't really get all that excited about it. I'm proud to say that is not the case for any of us.
Yeah.
The people closest to us have been cutting so hard on this thing, man. They've been sharing it.
Absolutely.
They've been shouting us out, letting their friends know about it. And that's there's a reason at this point we have over 1,500 listens to this show.
It's incredible.
And 7 episodes in. Like, I don't know that many people.
Yeah,
I was thinking like y'all would listen and maybe, you know, we always say our wives and moms, you know, but this thing is moving, and it's moving because the people closest to us are helping to do that. Yeah. So we appreciate you guys. And it's awesome to have you on here.
I'm happy to be here, man. From the outside looking in, I definitely noticed the support you guys have, and that's one thing that caught my eye, because a lot of times, especially you know, in my history of things, like whenever you decide, oh, I'm going to do something, it's usually the people close to you, like, yeah, okay, you know,
Of course.
yeah, sure,
of course.
you're going to do that, and it's like in my time, the people that supported me the most in the thing sometimes are the people that you never even met before. They just come across your product and like, hey man, I really like this. I'm rooting for you.
Because they don't know about the 500 other things you said you was going to do that you didn't do, right?
Exactly.
So that's usually how it ends up. But I'm glad you're here, bro. It's the return of the Buzz Lightyear show. / Boo Boo Radio.
I remember those are like, you know, in those younger days, I don't remember too much, but those are definitely some memories that stand out. Messing with the tape recorders, and, you know, and doing
sometimes.
that stuff.
Sometimes I forget how young you were when we were doing that, man. Like, you're not even in first grade yet.
For sure.
And mom getting us that keyboard, like, that was a game changer. First of all, growing up, we didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, and we didn't celebrate holidays, so gifts were not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So when you got something, you really appreciate it. And our parents did the best they could when they got that keyboard, man, that was we stayed on that thing. That's all we did was mess on that keyboard. And then once we got the tape recorder involved, I wanted to ask you if you remember our debut album, because we didn't just do radio shows. We came up with a debut album.
The first time I remember us doing a fake song on actually sitting down and recording, and I don't know where we came up with it. I remember my Uncle John had bought me a train set from a garage sale. Yeah, and it had these huge tubs, and we used those as drums, and we used the tennis.
The train tracks was inside, and so it sounded the train tracks were inside the tub. So when you hit it, it sounded like a snare drum.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And I think the guitar was just basically me stringing a tennis racket going down.
Yeah, it was total mouth guitar.
What was it? Car Shop was the first song I remember.
It
didn't make any sense.
The name of the band. This was funny. So we had a tape recorder using cassettes. That's aging us a little bit. Yeah, sure. And we were using those blank cassettes. And I remember I found a tag that came off of a pair of jeans. You know, like the tag that you rip off after you buy them.
Yeah.
And it was called Classic Style. And I was like, that's going to be our band name. Classic Style. Right? So I actually took, the tape, the cassettes used to come in those little plastic sleeves. So I actually took that and I slid it in there. That was our album cover.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then so Josh gets the tennis racket and he's hitting the My snare drum was that tub with the train tracks in it. And then I stole a couch pillow for the bass. And Mama was going to kill us because you remember where my drumsticks were?
I don't remember.
My drumsticks came off the shades.
Yeah, probably so.
The stick that you open up, close the shades with? I broke that bitch off and snapped it in half. And I had two. So I had two drumsticks.
And as a parent, I understand it now. Like, as kids, we thought we were like being super creative.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, oh man, this sounds good. And
Hey,
mom comes in and she's like, what the hell is going on in here?
Yeah, we was a hood band though. So I started, I got the couch pillow and the snare drum and we're hitting it and we're just making up songs as we go.
Yeah.
And Josh was the lead singer, of course. I had his backup. The reason that is such a special memory to me though, man, is because number one, we were just doing the best with what we had, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have all the fancy shit.
Yeah.
We have always had creative minds.
Yeah.
And we didn't necessarily grow up in an environment that was conducive to that creativity. To think about how doing this podcast now, like, this desire has been in me for a long time. And I referenced your name, DJ Mulatto, because you have decided to take your creativity and invest it into music and being a DJ and making your own custom music, screwing and chopping. And I know from experience by doing this, I just know that feeling you get on the inside when you sit down, you put those headphones on, you just create something. Yeah. And that's always been inside of us. And so I want to talk a little bit about us growing up because we got a little bit of Chris's history about the goofy stuff that him and his brother did. You and I, growing up in the environment that we did, I've talked about a little bit our religious background. First of all, I want everybody to know that I by no means believe that I had a bad childhood. Yeah. And I don't think you feel that way either. It's different, and you don't realize when we were growing up, we were just living our lives. Like nobody ever thought to themselves, "Oh man, I wish." At least for me, I never thought to myself, "Oh man, I wish I was growing up in a different circumstance."
Yeah, I remember thinking back to you talk about making the music and stuff, and if only I knew as an adult what those moments would mean because life comes fast sometimes, and I know that the age gap between us. The poverty, like mom and dad were, more financially struggling during your childhood when my memories start coming in when we lived in moved to the Cypress area, right? Jersey. That you're in between.
Daddy was on the come up then.
Yeah, he was coming up, and eventually he ended up getting that job to go to California. And when we moved there, I mean, we went from just living in a regular, probably I'd say middle class. We show up to California and we got this 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath, 2 flights of stairs, upstairs, downstairs, 3-car garage. I was like, man, we made it. Yeah. Man, we were, what I'm saying? We're like, man, forget Texas, what I'm saying? We Hollywood now. Yeah. And, but so like those memories that we have of like just having fun and playing, like I wish I'd have held on to those, and I realized how short-lived they would be.
Yeah.
Because like if you really break down that timeline, I think like 4 years later, mom and dad are getting a divorce.
Yeah.
You're getting married.
Yeah.
And that's when, a lot of people always talk about, how different we are. And I realize now as I get older how much we have in common.
Yeah.
And especially listening to this show, how you're, the way you feel about a lot. I'm like, man, dude, like I understand it's stuff that we never talked about.
It's DNA. And I'm glad you brought that up though, because people don't understand that you and I have quite a big age gap.
Yeah.
It seems more like an age gap, more of an age gap when you're kids. As adults now, the age gap really doesn't matter. But I was almost 7 years old when you were born. I don't know if you remember this. You used to worship the ground I walked on, bro.
Aww.
Yeah, for sure.
Like all the way up until we moved to California.
Nick was definitely my first role model. My dad, I don't have anything against my dad. I won't call him a bad father. He did the best he could. He's a good man.
Yeah.
He focused a lot on work, and it occupied his time a lot.
Yeah.
My dad went from climbing poles and installing cable to sitting in a seat, in an office.
Yeah.
In a high rise building because he worked his ass off.
Yeah.
So I'm not. He was always about taking care of us, but there was time that wasn't there, and most of my time as a young child was with Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick was real big into singing and dancing, and every time we pick him up from school, he'd have like this wave of ladies behind him, and I'd be like, "Ooh, mom, look at Nick," But I'm like, "Dude, like, what is it with this guy?" Like, people just attracted to him, and he was never in like a bad influence or like encouragement.
Yeah.
He wasn't in trouble. He wasn't doing things. And I really looked up to what he did, and even though at that time I was probably like super annoying to him because I was like the little brother. I was like, hey, you can go out, but you gotta take your little brother. And this dude be like on the phone, hey guys,
So
I'm coming, but I gotta bring Josh. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that brings me to something, and I appreciate all those kind words, but it makes me think about where I did slip up. That's that because of that age gap. Yeah, you was on my nerves. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I was really mean to you. Probably from age, when I became a teenager, I would say. When we moved to California, I think about some stuff, and it's just being a young kid, being a teenager. But I was not very nice to you about a lot of things. I remember, because you did used to look up to me about a lot of things. I even remember, because I was, like you said, I was into singing. I was going to be the next Boyz II Men. I was going to be the next NSYNC. And even Josh would try to get in there and cut and sing with me.
Yeah.
I was so critical of him about not being as good at things that I was good at. I remember we used to play basketball.
competitive, man.
Yeah.
We used to play basketball. Just keep in mind, Josh is.
But I mean, in all fairness, that's typical teenage attitude.
Maybe it
I mean,
is.
that's nothing to criticize.
It's okay for me to have regrets though, because
Looking
like-
back, he was hard to grow up with.
I'm telling you, like I was into basketball. I love basketball.
Okay.
I'm 14 years old. So I'm developed to the point where I'm good at basketball. Josh is 7. Okay. He can barely dribble a ball, And it really, Josh.
Hold on for 2 seconds. Speaking
Yeah.
of basketball, I would just like to throw out, ever since the whole comment about me playing basketball and how shitty I am, there's been probably 10 people tag me in those stupid little white guy trying to shoot fucking basketball and missing every one. I'm like, y'all son of a bitch.
Raindrop. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
hilarious. But no, like basketball was my thing. And Josh was just trying to do what I was doing.
Of course.
And instead of being like the brother, like, hey man, this is how you shoot your jump shot. This is what you do. He's like blocking me. Yeah, get that out of here. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Or if
dude,
he was on my
I'm
team-
like running inside crying. You know?
If he's on my team and I pass him the ball, he would shoot a shot and miss. I'd be like, damn, Josh, you suck.
Yeah, for real.
I was not. First of all, at age 14, I had zero patience. Patience was something I learned over the course of going through life and dealing with situations. I beat down Josh to the point, at some point he was like, you know what? I don't want to be like Nick anymore. I'm going to do my own thing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if you come to that conclusion on your own. But I can honestly say that you probably partially came to that conclusion because you just didn't feel my support at that time. And at least that's how I felt from my perspective, looking at it later.
As a kid, you got to realize a kid's mentality. As mean as you were, I might have been mad that day, but the next day you were, still somebody I looked up to.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I got to think about that as my, is with my children, now, I might come down on them, for whatever reason, but I want to reassure them that, hey, I don't have any, I'm not, I'm just disappointed and I just want you to do better. There was a point in time, and you mentioned it, that me and you really didn't talk. Like, we really fell off, and like, I just really was done with you. But it wasn't because of you being mean. It was just that, the one reason why me and Nick are so different is that, like, the years that he became, puberty and became a man and developed his personality. And when I did, we were two completely separate places, two separate neighborhoods, two separate everything. And that's where the difference is coming between me and Nick.
Okay. Yeah.
So when my parents split up, my brother had just had a baby and he had just moved out. So the two male in my life, my dad and my brother, were gone.
Gotcha.
And like I said, my dad had got this, big house to live in, and me and my mom, we couldn't afford it. I'm a little kid. We ended up moving to a more worse part of town. And the things I dealt with at school, man, it was like crazy that, and I went through it alone. And as an adult, I realized, hey, life happens. You have a child, you got to take care of your kid. But I felt like, man, my dad's not there for me. My brother ain't here for me. I got to go through this. A lot of the male influences at that time were not good people that you really want to be influenced by. And that's where those differences came. And it's like years and years later, me and Nick came back together. And slowly, like, we completely ironed out that. I think we're closer now than we've ever been before. Yeah. Because life, what I mean?
Of course. That's awesome.
Going from our contentious relationship at times when we were young kids, I mean, like I said, I'm glad the only memories I really remember are the good ones mostly. Yeah, I know sometimes I beat you up and make you cry, and then I try to make you laugh real quick before mama got home. Like, if I didn't want to get in trouble, I started saying goofy shit, trying to keep him from crying. But the turmoil that ended up happening in our house, I was just ready to get out of it. Looking back, like, I didn't even think to myself, like, man, I'm leaving my little brother behind in this, though. Like, he's only 13, 14. He still got to deal with all this shit. Yeah. My mentality was like, fuck this. I'm out. I'm out. Yeah. I'm going to do my own thing, And
I understand that now as an adult,
Yeah, and
as kids, you don't understand.
I would say probably when I was 17, 18, how old were you? 12, 13?
I remember when we got there in California, I think I was around 7, 8. And when mom
we were
and
there
dad
for
split
8
up,
years.
I was around 11 years old.
Yeah. So I leave, I go do my thing, trying to start a family. To be honest, me and you were not tight at all the way up until probably when I got a divorce. Yeah. Even after that, it wasn't really until you became a father that all of a sudden we had some things in common again. Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about what was going on with you as a teenager and young adult, but I know you was out in the streets and you was making some decisions that you were learning from. Yeah, we'll say that.
I was definitely the problem child in the end. Out of the two, expelled from elementary, junior high, high school, arrested in high school. But it wasn't like I was just a bad kid. I was like really just trying to do the best I could with what I had. The environment in California, the high school system was just insane. Yeah. And I remember one time I came to your house, and I had a shirt with a Mexico flag on it. And you're like, dude, what are you doing wearing a shirt with a Mexico flag? Like, dude, hey, man, look at my brother. He wants to be Mexican.
No, y'all don't understand. My brother used to speak with a Hispanic accent.
But like the things that he missed out.
He would come home and speak in a Hispanic accent, like he was cutting, like he was vato and all this shit, dude. I'm not lying.
Yeah, but the thing that he didn't, like, to him, he's like, man, my brother's just going through a phase. He's he's this and that. But
that's what you're surrounded with.
Yeah, but and it wasn't even like, okay, so junior high school, I get expelled, with all the the bad kids or whatever. But like in California, people don't realize this. It's very segregated.
Okay.
Like,
more so than here, actually.
In junior high, like the kids, the African Americans, the blacks, Hispanics, the whites, we were all cool. Mm-hmm. Once we got to high school, I went to a high school that had an actual gang unit in the high school. And like thinking of that now, like as a parent, if I go and enroll my kid in a school that I find out has a gang unit, it's going to be a no-go. That's absolutely not.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And like they would take pictures of graffiti and they would know who, like, and it wasn't just, the reason why it was this way is because it wasn't like in like some neighborhoods where you go to a school and like the kids are just bad and the parents are beating their ass. Like the parents were involved.
Oh, shit.
The grandparents were affiliated with this and they encouraged it. I mean, it was like grown people would come up to the school trying to fight kids over dumb stuff. I mean, it was like a chaotic environment. Jesus. And when I got to high school, all of my friends that were, black, which my mom's black, they were like, hey, they would like their uncles and their friends were like, hey man, you can't hang out with him. You know, and he was like, why? You know, and they thought I was Hispanic.
Yeah.
And the African Americans and the Hispanic.
That's been a war going on in Cali.
There was literally a tree. And I'm going to tell you that if you go to your front yard where the driveway is to the other driveway, it's probably where these two trees. And they were literally classified, oh, this is the Mexican tree, this is the black tree. And after school, everybody, you couldn't be in this circle if you weren't of that race. And when I was in that environment, I would deal with people who look like people I'm related to trying to fight me over racial stuff. And like, I'm just a mixed kid, you know what I mean? I don't even have an identity. So like, the vatos, man, the essays, they were like, hey man, he looks like us and we need all the help we can get. Yeah. So like, these are the people that I'm with every day. These are the people that like, we're like, we walk home together, we stay together, we fight together, we eat lunch together. So their culture became, a part of my family. And then on the outside, I'm keeping all this from my mom.
Latinas ever since, as evidence of who's sitting next to her.
Right. I'm keeping all this from my family. It's like a double life I'm living. I'm not really telling them this stuff that they're just seeing.
Keep
these
in mind,
signs,
at this time, like we're still heavy into going to church and all this stuff, dude. Like we're putting on suits and ties and going to the Kingdom Hall and
that was,
going out door to door talking to people. This is all during the same time. Like we're still pretty heavy into this.
Well, when my mom got divorced with my dad, that's when my mom kind of took a pause from a lot of the church stuff and started, she was going through so much. She was going through like mental breakdowns and stuff that I had plenty of freedom to just play my role at home. And whatever happened outside of school, at school, it just happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it wasn't until like the police came to the door one day that my mom realized that something was going on. Cause like, I ended up getting expelled from junior high. Cause like there was an issue with some matches or something when playing with fire or something caught on fire. But like that happening got me kicked out of school. But a week later,
I think we're good on the statute of limitations, Josh. You could be more specific.
a week later, after I get kicked out of school for starting a fire at school, a house gets burned down and it's an arson, some kids, my name comes up. So like the sheriff shows up to the door and they're like, hey, it's possible felony arson charge. If he's involved, they're questioning my mom. My mom freaks out. And that was like the first glimpse at, something's going on that I'm not really big. My mom was going through so much at that time, it was easy to kind of, do the whole double life thing. I didn't want to stress my mom out. Of course. And I didn't want to disappoint her, but
you're gone at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just show up every once in a while, like, hey, what's up, this thing? He's like, man, what's wrong with my brother? Like, this guy's tripping.
Yeah. You walking in with his collared shirt with the top button buttoned up and the rest of them
I'm
open.
just trying to survive high school, man. This is my freshman year in high school. It just got real crazy, and
that was all stuff that was going on that I didn't really know about because we weren't super tight. I really wasn't tight with mom. I talked about how there was a period of contention between mom and I where we just weren't good because of me feeling like she wasn't there for me, this and that. That affected my relationship with my brother, though, because he lives with her. Yeah. So if I'm not going to see my mother, I'm not going to see my brother either. Of course. So there was this long period of time where I just didn't know really what was going on with him until when me and my mom kind of started patching things up. And I think that happened when she got breast cancer. That's when it was like, okay, all that other shit really don't matter.
Yeah. I gotcha.
That kind of brought our family back together. Around the time that she got breast cancer, I was still married to Maddie's mother, but that was starting to get rocky and fall apart. Once that relationship fell apart, mom had breast cancer. Anybody who's been through a situation where you split up, usually when you split up, you got to find somewhere to go most of the time, especially because the mom, she's taking care of the kids and you want her to have that stability. Yeah. So I had to find a place to go. And that's when the three of us decided, you know what, let's move into this house together. Yeah. And so we all lived in a house together, me as an adult with a child, him as a teenager still in high school.
It's like the first time after all these years have passed, we just get stuck in the house.
All of a sudden we live in a house together. And Josh was still in high school. Mom is in the midst of her self-discovery still. Me, I'm a young man divorced at age 23 with a child who's 2-3 years old. And all of a sudden we live in a house together. And none of the stuff that's been gone wrong with us in the past has really even been resolved, right? Yeah. So there's still some bitterness going on.
We don't even talk. We just like walk to our room and look at each other like, you son of a bitch. Close the door.
It was a really weird and awkward dynamic.
Yeah, for sure.
Me and Josh got into it a couple times.
Yeah.
And
I was big now, so it's like I could fight back.
Yeah, of
and
course.
like now when we play basketball, I can block his shot. And I'm like, yeah, son. You know what I'm saying? You want to play?
Yeah.
You want to hoop now?
I knew that I pissed Josh off as a young child when, as adults, well, I was an adult, he was a young teenager. He was always trying to get at me. He was just waiting for the opportunity. And
Well, you scarred the man.
right,
Slap his basketballs
that's
down.
the thing. Like, he was ready. Like, he was ready to go. Anything that happened, Josh, you want to take this outside? I'm like, hold up, dude.
Man, I had so much, like the things I went through at a young age with that school. Like it was really thinking back, like it was traumatic for a child to deal with the stuff I dealt with. To see the fighting and the racial tension and there was times that like my dad picked me up because I got into a fight at the bus stop and I ended up getting a concussion and like
Good Lord.
dealing with those things as a kid.
Yeah.
The one thing it's done for me as a father now is as soon as I get my kids, I'm asking them, hey, what's going on at school? How was your day? Who are your friends? Like my parents kind of got caught up in the everyday, let's just go work, provide that they missed out that, hey, these kids are going through their own world too.
Of course.
And that's something that has helped me with my kids. Like we have a very unusual relationship. Like we just talk like adults sometimes.
Yeah.
And we just, lay it out on the table. And I encourage anybody who has kids to know what's going on with your kids because they can totally be going through things at school and they will come home and shut down.
Yeah.
And that was definitely what I did on a regular
And as a
basis.
parent, it teaches me, mom or dad, they might not necessarily just been ignoring.
Yeah.
Because when all of a sudden my kids come up to me and they tell me they're going through something and I feel like, man, why didn't I know that? I should have known that. I'll see you every day.
Yeah.
But you start to realize that the everyday grind of life can kind of, you get so focused on taking care of these responsibilities and you take for granted that when you ask your kid, how was school today? And they say fine. And then that's the end of the conversation. Like that might not be really what the situation was. I just think about when we were living in that house, there was all that tension still. Even though we live together, I still don't fully know what's going on with Josh. I'm just like, he's being a stupid teenager. You had a really traumatic experience. And I don't know if you're free to talk about this when you ended up in the hospital because of the pills that you took.
Yeah, that happened in 2009. So the way it went down was when we actually lived with one of my mom's friends in California, and she ended up passing away. Mm-hmm. So for the first time, we have nowhere to go, and we ended up, another friend of my mom's drove us to El Paso, and then my uncle drove from Houston to El Paso, picked us up, and we stayed at my uncle's for a little bit. This is before we found out my mom had cancer.
Okay.
And it was really weird for me. My brother, I think he came back to Texas shortly after, but like
2006.
Being around all these people, like these are my aunts and my uncles. Mm-hmm. I remember them as a child, but they're like grown, and I have trust issues with people because of the things I've been through. I can't tell anybody about it,
of course,
because my mom has, now that she's back around her family, the church is back going. Now this is it. We have an image to uphold, and like I have so much animosity against my dad, against my brother. I mean, I was blaming them for everything. I didn't have kids, and I remember telling myself at that time, man, if I ever have a kid, I was really disappointed that me and Nick separated the way we did, and I felt like it was because my parents couldn't get their things together as a child. You know what I mean?
Course,
and I felt like, man, if I have a kid, I'm gonna have a family. They're gonna stick together. I'm not gonna go through this. I was very disappointed in them, and it wasn't until I became a father that I forgave pretty much everybody.
Yeah,
for everything. Once I had a taste of the of that fatherhood and realized what life's really about, I said, some of this stuff is, at the end of the day, everybody does the best they can.
Yeah.
And there's no book, like you guys said, there's no book how to do this. You just kind of jump in and thankfully, you talked about me being divorced. I am divorced. I wasn't the greatest husband, but one thing that I feel like I've done a great job at is trying to be a father to my kids, and it's because I try to be the father I wanted and the role model and the friend that I wanted.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the passion that drives me as a dad.
Yeah.
For
and
sure.
we're gonna touch on that too. You had an incident where you took too many.
It was a type of muscle relaxer that my mom had. It wasn't really like an attempt at suicide or anything. It was just me being, at that time I went through a lot of,
You didn't really know what you were fucking with either.
The way it works is like
they were somas.
Yeah, they were somas, and
people don't realize like soma ain't ibuprofen, bro.
No.
Yeah.
You take one of those motherfuckers and it'll put you on your ass.
Yeah, but going through all that stuff, like I did end up, drug use, smoking weed, taking pills. So I didn't really mess with pills until I came back to Texas because like in California, everybody just smokes weed.
Yeah.
It's like your teachers are doing it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like everybody's
yeah.
doing it, right? So I remember going to Dickinson and like my first day there, people kept like, "Hey man, I got these bars, and I'm like, "Man, what the hell are they talking about?" So I didn't want to act not cool. So like, by then I'm still like kind of California, so I'm like, "All right, cool home," But they're like, "Hey," so I'm like, finally, like, "Dude, what?" I asked somebody like, "Dude, what the hell are these people talking about?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a pill, man. It just relaxes you." And then one day I'm like, "Okay, well, give me 4 of them." Yeah. Ended up that was like the first time I ever took prescription medication in the way it's not intended to be used. Yeah. And I remember I was in class and it was like the first period and like, I went to the water fountain, sit back down. I'm like, man, this stuff don't work. I'm sitting there like, this is a waste of money. I'm going to find that guy. And the rest of the day is a blank. And I wake up in the hospital at the end of the day because I came home from school, ended up going all my classes, just didn't remember doing anything. Yeah. And, I had to see my aunts and my uncles, and they're all, religious people. They're looking at me like, man, this dude. That was the first time I let everybody down. Yeah. So, like, there was a scare with the family with prescription medicine before this incident that my brother's talking about. So, like, Soma's with my size, I used to take them on a regular basis. They really wouldn't, get me, I have, whatever. I feel like we're just talking about drugs the whole damn time.
No, it's all good. Look, no,
I know you want to talk about it, and I'll probably skip out some of the other stuff I talked about. But
we don't have to talk about anything you're not comfortable with.
Well, I want to talk about it, but it's like I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, one day it wasn't an attempt at suicide.
No, I understand
that. Play it that way, or else I was gonna go to jail.
Yeah, I know. You were just trying to get you were just trying to get your buzz on. Yeah. I feel you. No, the reason I bring that up is because I lived with you when that shit happened.
And you didn't realize it.
And I didn't even know what the fuck was going on. Yeah. Like, I lived with you. I was in the same house with you. That just shows, like, the ocean that was between us at the time.
It was. And not only was it, like, really competitive with me and Nick, it was, like, if he liked something, like when we were kids, I love everything he loves. When we were older, he likes that. I don't like that.
Yeah, and that's like that is bullshit.
You know what I mean? Like he was into Star Wars, I'm into Fast and the Furious. Yeah. Every day I got to tell him how stupid Star Wars is. Every day he has to tell me how unrealistic Fast and the Furious is. And it's like, you like PlayStation, I like Xbox. Yeah. You say blue, I say green. It's like we're just trying to be different at this point,
And that's what I mentioned earlier. Like I felt like because of the way I was to you when we were kids, I'll just be honest with you. Like I felt partially responsible. You were going to be your own person regardless. Maybe if I'd have been a better role model to you, you would have looked at me and not been like, oh, that's Nick. He's the good one. He's the one everybody likes. And like, I know that shit made you mad. Sometimes you were doing things, everybody fucks up, right?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
like, but for some reason when Josh fucked up, it was magnified. You know?
It was like, but it was like, I would end up in these situations and I'm like, damn it. Like, how did I end up here again? And like I said, I wasn't a bad kid. I was really a lost kid.
Yeah.
Trying to find my way, trying to find out who I am. And I, honestly, like you said, that happened in 2009. I ended up, in the hospital on ICU, long stopped working in the ambulance. Jesus. I mean, like,
it was serious.
And I remember, like, I know I'm not trying to go off on another tandem, but like, I'm not really religious, but I feel like I'm a spiritual person. I believe in a creator. I do pray. Okay. And I remember praying that day and just being like, man, this isn't how I want to be remembered.
Of course.
I've been through a lot of bull crap and I haven't done anything. If I die here today, I'm just going to go down as some pillhead kid who never got his shit together. And I remember praying, if I can just make it out of here, to have a second chance. And fast forward 10 years from that day, I'm a father and I'm a husband. Yeah. And like, I didn't even realize that second chance came. Life just kept going. I made it out of the hospital and next thing you know, I had a baby. I didn't know what to do. But the years after that are literally the best years of my life because if it wasn't for my children, I would not be here today. Yeah. So like, I really give them my life because I owe it to them. Like I really believe that. And like they made me just, the first time I had to work hard and provide and, love another human being and take care of them, the responsibility. It was like something, it gave me something like that, the relationship that may not have been there as I grew up with my brother and my dad. Yeah. I had it with my kids. Yeah. We're family. And Nick's a great father. That's finally we got something in common. Yeah. Finally, we were going through some of the similar things, and that's when we started that uphill climb to getting where we are now.
That's actually what I want to get at because Josh is going through all this stuff. He's the teenager, getting pulled over, getting arrested, doing all this stupid stuff, popping pills. This is on the outside looking in. Like nobody knows what's really going on with Josh. Yeah. Next thing I know, because I'm living. You got to understand. I wasn't just ignoring Josh. I was going through some of my own shit and some of my own, that self-discovery I talked about when I was deciding, you know what, the way I've grown up my entire life, when you start to realize that, you know what, that's not even me.
Yeah.
And you kind of go through this selfish period. Like, I've been sacrificing what I want to do my entire life. Fuck everybody else. I'm gonna do me.
Yeah, of course.
I was going through that. My mother was going through that. And in the meantime, Josh is like,
I've been going through this. Fuck all y'all.
right? So I don't even realize. The next thing I know, Josh tells me that Mariana, his girlfriend, is pregnant. And I'm like, oh shit.
This is bad.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that was the reaction that everybody gave. And there was actually like people, like, I'm not gonna, name drop anybody. There were people that were like, hey, you cannot have this baby with this guy. This guy is, all of them say they're gonna. I remember I could hear these people that I thought were close to me too.
Yeah,
right in front of my face. This guy, this is what they all say. He's not gonna take care of you. He's not gonna. You're gonna end up being a single mother. You're gonna do this, and if you have this baby, it was you're ruining the baby's life.
Right.
And this is Aliciana now.
Yeah.
That we all know Aliciana. We love Aliciana. I couldn't imagine what my life would be like if someone decided to say, you know what, no, let's not go through with this pregnancy.
Yeah.
Because that baby, I can't even put it into words what she means to me.
Of course.
But that was, I had to like, at first I'm like, man, these motherfuckers hating on me. You know what I mean? But I had to really look back and think, damn, what have I shown different?
Yeah.
What have I want to keep up this image. I got my pants around my ass. I'm I got my music up loud. I'm doing all this stuff. Like, what have I shown anybody that I am going to be any different?
Yeah.
But one thing about me, and I think it goes back to when I was born premature. I was born a month early, and the doctors told my mom, it's 50-50. When you tell me those odds, when you tell me what I'm not going to do, I'm like, okay, cool. Because I know who I am inside. I'm going through some things, and I'm trying to put on a display that, hey, I'm kind of hurting. But now that you challenge me, like, I remember a teacher telling me, man, I don't know who raised you, but you'll never amount to anything. When they told me that, like, I literally, I ended up failing a grade when I moved back to Texas because the credits are different. And I ended up grinding my ass off. I still walked with my class to walk the stage. You know what I mean? I came back from that. So it's like, man, when you tell me I can't do something. So when I heard, oh, he'll never take care of these kids. You'll end up a single mom. I was like, okay, it's time to show them who you really are.
Yeah.
And it's like a light went off in my life.
Yeah. And at that point that he finds out that he's going to be a father, I am a father, and I'm going through a divorce. And Josh tells me, man, I'm going to marry her. And I'm like, no. I'm like, whoa.
So you got a whole different idea how this is going to fucking go.
Exactly. I'm like, wait, hold on, dude. Like, and I remember telling you, this is not like some hindsight, oh, you should have lived. Like, this is not about that. I just remember telling you, look, man, you can be a good father.
Yeah.
You can raise a child. You don't have to marry a woman just because y'all have a baby together. Because I think that y'all had already been like off and on a couple times before she got pregnant.
Yeah, it was rough. And you're right. And a lot of people told me the same thing. And it really goes back to even though I had been living this lifestyle where I'm doing these things, I'm being reckless, in that moment where I had another life that was a part of me, counting on me. A lot of our family that is religious used that opportunity to be like, hey, now, you're gonna, how you gonna live your life? What are you gonna do? You had a pregnancy outside of marriage. It was a big deal, and like, even though I wasn't obviously giving two craps about anything I heard in church, the way I've been living my life, it just hit somewhere home. Like, man, is this what I have to do? Because I don't want, the end of the day.
I want to chime in on that real quick because there's two people at this table who don't understand that dynamic. The religion that we were a part of, often people left. And when they did leave, you and I talked about in our episode about how there was kids who were not allowed to do shit.
Yeah.
And then they went out in the real world and went buck shit crazy.
Yeah.
That is the story of so many young kids who grew up the same way that we did.
Okay.
So they go out, they decide, you know what, this ain't for me, and they go out and they do all kinds of stupid shit.
Yeah.
Do stuff that could possibly fuck up their lives. The kind of sick and twisted mentality about everybody who's still there is they view that, they see you fuck up your life and they view that as an opportunity. Well, see, now, so you're gonna come back, right? See what leaving did to you?
Yeah.
As if you leaving
brought that upon
and deciding
you.
brought that upon you. Thinking about it now is so fucking sick and twisted, man. because
And they don't
the reason I'm out here acting stupid is in part because you didn't let me know what the real world was really like.
And see,
you told me,
that's my question with this whole thing, right? I don't understand how, like when we grew up, our parents told us, there's a fence. You can be on one side or you can be on the other. Yeah. Like life's not all this fucking grand, peachy, white picket fence bullshit. Okay, if you want something, you go out, you bust your ass, you make it happen, or you go with a different crowd and you fuck up and you spend maybe not the rest of your life, but a lengthy amount of time behind bars, right? There's two fucking options. I don't understand how pressing this stuff down kids and telling them this is the only way to do something is.
And here's the deal, because it sounds twisted to us.
When do they start this? I guess preaching to the kids. Like
I mean, it happens from
birth.
From there's happens from early age, and I want to say that like I don't think that anybody that I don't knock anybody's beliefs on everything. If you doing what you have to do for your salvation, I'm all for it. As long as you respect me the same way, I'm all for it.
Right.
And I don't think that people believe in their mind that they're doing anything that's abnormal. They're just doing what they believe to be true to get their salvation. Mm-hmm. So it's just
and you gotta understand. You got to
wrong,
understand that this has also been generationally. Like this is especially in our family. It's 4 generations. This is what their parents taught their parents, their grandparents.
So from
birth
to death.
The unique part about the religion we grew up in is like you didn't go to church and then your kids went to the Sunday school. Like everybody was in the same room learning the same stuff.
Okay.
As a 2-year-old child, you're taught, you sit in that chair and you pay attention to what's being talked about. And you're 2 years old, you want to draw pictures of happy faces and you have no idea but you're taught at 2 years old, you sit there, you look at the stage and you pay attention.
Okay.
And then from early, they tell you to start taking notes. Like this is a lifestyle. This isn't just, I go show up on Sunday, praise Jesus, and then leave. And this is a lifestyle, 24/7, 7 days a week.
You have to live your life this way because if you don't, you'll be destroyed for that. So you have to stay. The world is full of bad influences that can get you sidetracked. So stay focused, keep your attention here.
And that's what I was saying.
Anywhere else, basically.
So if anybody left and they went through difficult shit, everybody just chalked it up to, well, see, that's what happens when you go out there. Yeah. And I know in their hearts that they believe that and they did not mean anything ill
for sure.
about it. Like I know that they really felt like that was the case. Uh-huh. But to me, that's such an insensitive reaction to somebody going through shit. Like you think I popped a bunch of pills because I don't go to church every Sunday?
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with that. I'm sorry, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
And nobody was really, they see that he has a child outside of wedlock. That situation is supposed to shock his system to the point that he decides he's going to be somebody that he's already determined that he's not going to be. Like I said, there was no ill intent, but that's just the way that some of these people think. Mm-hmm. And so Josh felt a lot of pressure. I felt like were it not for the pressure, that influence, he may not have gotten married at the age that he got married. He might have just tried to be a good father and discover himself, because the one thing that we know, you weren't ready.
Oh, for sure.
You were not ready to be a father, a husband, a provider, a caretaker. You weren't ready to, you were still a kid. You wanted to go turn up,
I said it often to my, my ex-wife that, we were kids raising kids, and that's like the most accurate thing. And anybody in that situation, I know I'm not the first person who's like, man, I got a baby, and let's get married. And I'm not, it's like, if it works out and that's the best situation for you, go for it. I'm not saying that there's like one scenario fits all.
Yeah.
But I was definitely a kid that wasn't ready. I was definitely just living my life in a way where everybody was doubting me. And all of a sudden I go to the whole family. I'm like, hey, I'm telling my ex-wife's family, hey, y'all, I'm religious now and everything's going to be okay. We're going to get married. And, I tried to fit in this box. One thing about me, man, is it's hard. I can't half-ass something.
Of course.
I got to be all the way in it, or I got to be all the way out of it.
Yeah.
I can't just kind of have my foot in the door. Mm-hmm. And that's why, I tried and I tried and I tried to make that lifestyle work. Mm-hmm. And it just didn't fit for me. And I used to feel guilt. I'd feel depression, like, man, why? Why can't I just get it right?
Yeah.
But the relief I have off my shoulders now is that, I feel like I have got it right. I feel like I'm a good dad, and I'm very honest with who I am. And
absolutely,
and
When did you deter? What age were you?
I was always just hanging around because of my parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you never.
The most I locked
remember
in was
when
my kids
me and
came,
my
I really dedicated myself to trying when my child came, because I
got
believe
you.
that if I didn't live my life a certain way, my child was going to die. Now I had I got to do this. And I was a total hypocrite. Like, I walked in my house and I was like, hey, this Christmas tree, hey, it's got to go. Hey, this and that, you got to go. And then that lasted for like 2 months. And then like my friends were like, hey man, we're going to the strip club. And I'm like, I'd never been to the strip club before. I got married before I went to the strip club. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to make this one exception. So I look like a total hypocrite, dude.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I have to be honest with myself. I have to, do things my way. And I felt bad about that. And I ended up going through issues. Like, I took something, my ex-wife lost her dad, and Christmas was something that was really important to them. And I felt so guilty. You know what I mean? I didn't realize, because this memory that you've had your whole life, for me, it's been taught, oh, that's a no-go.
Yeah, of course.
So like what he talked about in some of the other episodes, and, the time we spent together, man, I'm totally on board. Like, I understand what when he says stuff, I'm like, man, I never knew that we had so much in common.
Yeah.
'Cause I listened to you guys.
Because the holidays became something different.
For sure.
And it takes a little bit of self-sacrifice. I think you eventually got to a point where you're like, I can't be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And even though it's hard for me to do these things, this is something that I got to let go of so that my family can continue.
But even that's being said, I went through the struggle of being a child who's married. So that whole double life I lived as a kid, now I'm totally going through it, because there's a huge part of me that wants to be a husband, that wants to be dad. But there's a huge life that I haven't lived, and all my friends are going through it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going out. So I'm trying to live this double life. I'm like, man, I went to work Monday through Friday, and I took care of the family, so I'm going out this weekend.
Gotcha.
And I did a lot of going out, staying out late, like stupid hours, dude. Like just dumb stuff, and tried to live. And that's why I said I wasn't the greatest husband. It took me a long time to get it. Eventually I did get it together.
Right.
And I still lost my family. You know what I mean? So it's like,
That's where I want to jump in at.
Yeah.
Because now you're a young father, you're a young husband, you're admitting now, you know what, there's a lot of shit that I did that wasn't right.
for sure.
And that everybody has mistakes. The hardest part to do is to own those mistakes. And once you own them, the next challenge is feeling like you deserve redemption, because most of us are hardest on ourselves.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about the moment that you owned your mistakes and decided, you know what, now it's time to seek redemption. It's time for the come up. And I just want you to talk a little bit about that, because that's going to lead us to where we are now.
Yeah. Well, like every year of my marriage, there was a huge leap of progression, especially if you go back to who that kid was who was, in and out of jail doing stupid stuff. There was always, there goes Josh doing that annually stupid thing. You know what I mean? That's one thing that makes you scratch your head and be like, what was he thinking?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I wasn't perfect. It was like a grind. And I felt like, hey, be patient with me. You knew what you were signing up for. You knew who you had a child with.
Yeah.
You knew who you married.
Yeah.
And I can't get it overnight, but I always thrive to get better and get better and get better.
Yeah.
But I still made a lot of mistakes. And I can sit here and say, man, I made a lot of mistakes. And certain things I was doing, I didn't realize it was a mistake until later on, looking back, reflective, be like, damn.
Yeah.
That was something I probably could have went without doing. Or, just respect things. Like things I had to learn. But the thing that's crazy is I'm trying to be a husband when I've never seen a man treat a woman with respect and open doors and show love. Like I had to teach myself that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have an example of that.
Well, I would say he saw me doing that. But once again, he hated everything that I did. Yeah.
I was like, he's a good husband. I'm going to be a bad one.
I honestly, on the outside looking in, like I never came up to Josh and be like, hey, man, if I was you, I would do this. Because I knew he'd be like, man, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
one thing about it is we both, like every once in a while, if something was really pressing, me or him would pull each other aside and be like, hey, bro, I'm not getting in your business, but I'm going to tell you this. And probably 10 out of 10, our answer reaction to each other was like, all right, I hear you, but we totally disregarded that. And looking back now, we gave each other some good ass advice that we completely ignored. You know what I mean? And that all like
it was like consider the source, right?
Yeah.
Consider the source. Once again, we have been going through different things through all of this, and we handle things differently. So I understood And I felt bad about it because sometimes I'd be like, man, maybe I should say this to Josh. And then I was like, you know what? I had to learn this shit on my own.
Yeah.
He's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the only way I've learned my whole life is the hard way, unfortunately.
It felt bad at the time. And I've even, once you started going through your divorce, I told you this. I was like, man, right now as I sit here, like I feel like, man, what would happen if I would have just said something to Josh?
Yeah.
And you were like, you know what? Honestly, bro, it probably wouldn't have mattered.
And it's true. And
Yeah.
I had to, admit that to myself. And we had slowly started working our way back close. Like the first time was A to Z Tire. When you called me, my brother called me. He's like, "Hey, I got this good
And
job."
at this point, look, Josh talks about that he was fucking up a lot. I say you probably went through a good year and a half, 2 years almost straight, where you were finally trying to do the shit you were supposed to do.
Yeah, I realized that, hey, family is everything.
Of course.
And that, I'd rather be I used to sit there and be mad at myself and be like, how dare I leave my home all night long where my kids are laying here? Like, I'm the protector, I'm this, I'm that. How dare I? And I didn't realize how selfish that was. So I made it a priority to be home, and I started having like game night at home and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They started coming into place. But, by then, the damage is done. Like, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
I hesitate to quote R. Kelly, but when a woman's fed up, it's the truth. I knew that you were on the come up, bro, when you finally took accountability and you actually said that to me. Like, you know what? First of all, I'm never going to throw anybody's baby's mother under the bus. That's the mother of your children, my nieces. We're not going to.
Sure.
What I will say is that when finally that person had enough and you kind of got a little taste of your own medicine.
Yeah, for sure.
As difficult as that is to deal with, and it's hurtful and it's wrong. I'm not trying to say that it's not. But there's that part of you that, like, you know what? I got to take that.
Man, I feel like I ate it like a man.
Yeah.
And I had to. And I had to chew on it, and I had to taste it. But eventually I had to spit it out and keep moving forward because I had my kids who were innocent victims in the whole thing.
Right.
And anybody who's, a couple that's married, one thing that differences are going to come up. I encourage everybody to keep fighting for their marriage. I don't encourage anybody to quit, but at some point in time you have to say, like they always say, some people are for a reason, some people are for a season, some people are for a lifetime. And then you try to squeeze people that are just for a season into a lifetime, you end up with these lifetime problems. So, thinking back now, like even the things that we've been through, I don't regret anything because it made me who I am sitting here today. Yeah. And it may not have been pretty, and it may not have been everybody, might have judged me and had something to say. Yeah. But I'm very proud of the man I am here today.
Yeah. You should be. You should be, bro.
And I know my kids are proud of me.
Yeah.
And the thing is that even though I did get it together, I was never going to get it together for that person because that person had been through so much crap.
Yeah.
So no matter how much good I did, I'm like, hey, look at all this good I did.
Let me
remind you of what you didn't do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let me tell you, it's not just a woman thing, but, I'm a man, you're a man. We deal with women.
Yeah.
When you finally got it together, that shit probably just pissed her off. Like, what took you so long, motherfucker? Like, and now you're doing everything you're supposed to. And it was just a toxic situation, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But
it's unfortunate for the kids.
It had to end for you to get where you needed to be. And I want to talk about the come up.
For sure.
Because the come up is sitting next to you right now. Ily, I apologize for leaving you out of this conversation. You've been waiting so patiently.
I mean, before I'm not trying to interrupt her. Before you go into that, like come up, you gotta talk about the come down.
Yeah.
Because it happened quick.
Okay.
I mean, it happened real quick. Like I had this vision that I finally hit the turn, like the corner, and I knew where I was headed in my life. I knew that this was it. This is the way it's gonna be. I'm gonna buy a house. I'm gonna get a truck. I had this all planned out.
Yeah.
During the year of 2018, the whole beginning of the year, I'm looking for houses. And everything is seeming to be good. In my mind, I'm like, man, I'm sure glad that she was patient with me and let me get it together. Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I ended up going like on family vacation in August, and I spent like stupid money. Ended up going to a deer lease, just renting out a house in San Antonio. It was like beautiful deers walking by the door. We ain't shooting nothing. We're just out there, having a good time with the kids. And as soon as I get back, it's hey, I'm just not in this anymore. And it just hit me like,
that rug got pulled from under your feet.
Like it just came out of nowhere. Okay. And I figured at first, like, you know what, she's just, going through her annual, I'm mad at you. She'll need some time. And then it got official, like, this is over.
Yeah.
This is done. And I go from, a 3-4 bedroom house, a studio where I got my DJ stuff together. You know, the cars. You know, I got the rims on the car. I'm thinking that like I'm on the come up to having nothing. Yeah. I'm sleeping on one of my best friend's floor, and I remember calling him, and I was like, "Hey, bro, I might, you know, I'm going through some things right now. I just might need a place to lay my head. Is that cool?" And he didn't ask me any questions, man. He was like, "Come on." And he gave up his daughter's room so I could have a place to sleep. Wow. And this guy, actually, if you go back, he's the one that actually called my mom and called 911 the night that I almost died in 2009. So this guy's been in my life, you know, shout out to him. Like, he's been my lifesaver more than once. Yeah. And when he opened that door to me, you know, I remember laying there that first night on that floor thinking, where did I go wrong in life? Yeah. Like, I had everything figured out, and now I have nothing. I don't have my kids. I don't have my car. I don't have my house. I don't have anything. And I'm sitting here like, I was just so confused, and I felt so guilty. Like, man, I brought this upon myself. I just should have got it together. I blame myself for everything. It was just, I mean, I started beating up myself. Yeah.
Once you're at that point, you see me at your lowest of lows.
Yeah, for sure.
The come up was sitting next to you, part of the come up. So, Ily, I appreciate you being patient sitting there while we went through this diatribe of our life story. You meet Josh now, and he's a broken man. He's a shell of himself. He is nothing but a ball of potential that he doesn't even know that he is. Several years have gone, because you guys knew each other before in high school, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, and so there's been several years in between. You meet Josh. What did you know about Josh from the time that you knew him in high school to where he was as an adult? The reason I asked that is because there's a certain part of honesty that Josh was going to have with you at some point to get you guys to where you are right now. So what did you know about Josh's process between when you knew him in high school and to where he ended up when you guys reconnected?
I would follow him like on, you know, his social media kind of stuff and everything like that. So I knew like, you know, he was married, he had kids and everything like that.
Watching him pick big old tires up over his head.
Yeah. So just typical people you went to high school with, seeing them on social media stuff.
I mean, I didn't really know anything more than that.
Okay. You had a crush on him in high school though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. See, that's cool. And, you know, Josh is a good looking man. Them jeans run strong, you know. But how did you feel about his situation? Like, obviously, you're here now. Something moved you on the inside to say, you know what? He needs a hand right now. He needs some.
Oh, yeah,
definitely. He needs a friend.
So we actually had a class together in high school. Mm-hmm. And so that's how, like, we were friends. So I saw what he was going through. I, like, reached out to him, and I was like, hey, you know, I know that you're having a difficult time.
Josh was letting everybody know on Facebook.
Yeah, I had to work on that. That's something I'm still working on.
He was all up in them feelings, bro.
Not
so
everything's
I
for
see
the
you.
book. I learned that.
Yeah.
But hey, that's cool. That's cool.
I had reached out to him. I was like, hey, I know that, you know, he was like saying something about him like needing a vehicle or something like that to go like get the girls. So I was like, you know, you can borrow my car to, you know, go pick up the girls or whatever.
Right.
And that was like, at first,
that's
you know,
kind of how it all like started.
Yeah.
That's how we got back in touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
She hits me up on the car, and I'm like, nah, man. And a couple hours go by, and I'm still in the situation where, you know, lost contact with my, you know, at the time, wife. We're going through it or whatever. I need to go get the kids. I have no vehicle. So I take her up on her offer. She comes through. She lets me use it. And then I think, like, you know, she ended up returning it back to her, and I told her thank you. And that was really it. You know, I told her, you know, thank you. It wasn't like a, hey, you owe me a date now, or like, hey, it was just like, hey, are you good? You know, and thank you. Yeah. And later that week, we ended up like having a get together at my friend's house. They wanted to like, hey, you know, Josh is going through some things with his wife. Let's just have a get together. Yeah. So I invited her. And I was like, hey, just let you know, I appreciate what you did the other day. We're gonna have a get together, and you're more than welcome to, you know, come. Yeah. You know, if you like to. And she did.
At some point, y'all had to have this moment of honesty, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. Because I know that because I went through the same thing with my wife. We'd both been in relationships previously. We were tired of the bullshit. Yeah. So you know what? Let's lay all our shit out on the table. Mm-hmm. So at some point, you probably had to have this conversation where like, look, if we're going to do this is going to be the last time. I'm not doing this shit again. So let's get all our shit out. So talk about that dynamic where you guys all of a sudden, I mean, Josh, you probably had to tell some ugly truths about yourself.
Man, the honesty came out of the gate because when like I said, I invited her over. She let me use the car. It wasn't a relationship thing. I'm heartbroken. I want my wife back at this time.
Right.
I'm crying about my wife to this woman, and she's just there. Eventually, like she ends up being somebody that she's just listening to me, and I need.
So she knew all the dirt before it was actually even a romantic thing.
Yeah, I mean, I had to explain how the hell I ended up on this mattress on the floor. She just seen me on Facebook, living my best life. Like something had to happen. So she's like, I just get to talking, and I needed somebody to talk to. I would blow my kid's mom up.
Yeah.
And I had to realize, hey, that window
shit
is closed. You can text as much, you can call as much. That woman does not want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And it's like you're hurting so much at that time. And they had to learn to just deal with it.
Yeah.
And I had to let him like figure it out for himself as well. Like I couldn't sit here and tell him like, hey, it's done, it's over.
Yeah.
I had to let him figure it out for himself.
She was watching your crazy ass blowing up your baby's mama, and
and it was hard to let him sit here and figure it out for himself.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean exactly. So go ahead.
After that day, of course, the girls, there was a lot of people there, but I think like Luciana got her hair braided or something. Somebody braided her hair. I don't know who it was. So we go back to her mom's house. She's like, hey, man, who braided your hair? She's like, a girl. She's like, what girl? You know what I mean? So ends up, oh, you got a girl over there? And I'm like, man, it's just this petty fight. We're breaking up. It's just, we're fighting all the time at this time. All she's doing is hearing me talk about my kid's mom. Like, how is she here right now? I don't know. Because I'm like, I don't know what she's seen in me in that moment where I'm just like, hey, I'm going to use you as an outlet to talk about another woman. But the one thing she was very honest about was she was like, look, I'm here to be your friend because eventually we're hanging out a lot more than, just any average, friends do. And eventually I find out that, my ex-wife is, we're single. It's clear that we're not together anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool. Like, I'm not going to hide this. This is my friend. She's been here for me. She let me use this car. We're going to hang out.
Yeah.
And she made it very clear. Like, look, figure this marriage thing out before you try, because you're like, me, I'm a man, right? I got this girl around. I'm like, you know what? She don't want to be with me. She what's up, girl? You know what I mean? She's like, whoa. She's like, girl. She's like, look, man, like, figure this out first, because I'm almost 30 years old.
Yeah,
I don't have time to waste over here. Let's get catching feelings, and then you go run back home. Yeah, I'm not here to be your
rebound.
Yeah, I'm not here to be your
respect
rebound.
for that. Mm-hmm. Respect.
Figure out your thing. And I'm going to be here along the way. And then once that's done, if this turns into something, then so be it.
Which is admirable. Like that.
That's
really is.
Mad respect. Mad respect.
That's something I can't imagine doing that.
That tells you something about her character, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Because she wasn't going to sell out just for a little bit of physical gratification.
And what did I do?
And try to win you over with that, you know?
And I've seen it. I've seen it my whole life, So she showed me something that was different. Like I had like my whole relationship, like women knew I was married. Mm-hmm. They didn't care. Yeah. Hey, and it got to the point where like I seek that attention because I was dealing with so much animosity at home. Like it just felt good to get that attention. So that was like one of my downfalls as a husband. Like so for her to make that stand, I was kind of like, damn. Like, hey girl, come on, girl. You want this deal. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, damn. But I respected it. And then eventually, she sat there and was patient enough to watch me get over it. And you're acting, man, what the hell is wrong with this girl? She has no kids, she has a good job, she has all these things. But when you hear her story about the things that she dealt with from also coming out of a long relationship, even though I was thrown away as this guy who was a failure, she's seen, hey, this guy got some things to bring to the table.
Yeah, she saw that potential.
And she jumped on it. And I'm thankful. I wouldn't be here for a lot of people, and she's definitely one of them. I got a lighthouse tattooed on me when I was going through it. And what that represented was my kids, Ileana, my brother, my family, everybody who helped me find my way home through that storm. Because when you're in that fog, there was times I thought about harming myself. Yeah. I remember I was telling her, like, I was dealing with some things because, like, it wasn't easy, man. I'm in court. All of a sudden, I'm on child support instantly. I'm dealing with a woman that I used to be married to. She won't look at me. Yeah. She's like, it's bitter. Like, the tension is there. Like, there's things being said in court. I'm just like, man, are you serious? I'm hurting.
So you said 3 words, and I know Chris can vouch for this because he's been married almost 10 years, that are so key to good relationships, to healthy relationships. You said honesty. Yep. you said respect,
Yep.
and you said patience.
Yep.
She earned your respect when she told you, you know what, I'm just not going to be that side thing.
Yeah.
All right, you figure that out.
She actually sat in the living room with my ex-wife
Really?
and talked to her.
Yeah.
And let her know, like, hey, this is some of the things I've been through. And I'm just going to let you know, like, this guy, he loves you, and that I really don't think you should walk away.
Yeah.
In, like,
You said that.
in the living room, like, and it was like one of the most awkward moments by this time. Like, my ex-wife was open to her coming because she was like, oh, I'm done with him. He can do whatever he wants. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. That's his friend, supposedly. Like, I'm getting accused of everything in the book. But
Well,
she's
yeah.
like, yeah, you want to
Yeah.
come? Because at this point, that she's met the kids. My kids are coming around her. I don't want to introduce my kids to, like, a whole bunch of women,
course.
right?
Yeah.
But she's being there as a
Yeah.
friend. And I remember her, she even went in there and said that. So it was...
Yeah.
She
So that
I
made
respect her a lot, man.
that
for
she earned your respect,
Definitely.
and then she showed patience because, you know, you was a mess. You was going through all your shit, and you know she watched you blowing up your baby's mama and stuff. But she showed patience and restraint because you said you had a crush on him in high school. So I'm sure there was something in the back of your mind that was like, and you saw what he was going through. He really opened himself up to you. So at some point, you got to be thinking like, man, like there's something about him that I like, but you realize he's in this situation that you can't really jump on top of until that's for sure done. So that showed patience. And then the honesty between both of you, just like keeping it real. That's the key, man. That's the why y'all are sitting here. And that's
For
why
sure.
I'm confident that in 20 years, y'all will be sitting here together because, and it just takes growing up, dude.
Yeah.
It just takes growing up. When we got married, we were babies. We didn't know none of that shit.
For sure.
We didn't know about, back then, if a lie was just a little white lie, it wasn't a big deal, you know? To go through that experience, everything that you went through was preparing you to be with the woman you were supposed to be with. And that's what draws me and you together like this, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Because all of the differences that we had growing up, the time we spent apart, all of a sudden our lives started to mirror one another.
Yeah.
Almost exactly.
I remember coming over here before the divorce, and I was just going through some things, and I spent the night, and my brother came outside and he talked to me. And I know what he'd been through, you know, but we never really just had that heart to heart. Let's just talk about it. And he came and gave me some advice, man, and he was just telling me, and I got really emotional. Like, it was what I needed to hear at the time.
Yeah.
And I knew that, hey, as much, all these differences that me and my brother have had, if I'm going to go through this, his advice is going to be key to this because I watched this dude battle some obstacles going through the same thing. So definitely thanks to you and even Chris, man, because you got to realize when I first started coming over that first Thanksgiving, you know, because this is 2018 is when it you know, it all ended in around January of 2019 in the holiday season. We came over here.
Yeah.
And you know, Ileana came with me, and it was just that was a rough time at that time, and I'm so damn proud that I went through it. Yeah. Like I used to hate it, and I needed, you know, I remember it was a point in time I was like, man, I'm just gonna take my life, and I told Ileana this. I was like, man, I'm just gonna take my own life. Like I don't even care anymore. Like it's not even worth it. And she looked so pissed, you know, and she walked away. And she came back, and she had her phone, and she shows me a picture of my kids. My bad.
You're good.
And
good.
She says, "This is who you live for."
It's real
And
talk.
she said, "Don't forget who you live for. At the end of the day, you harm yourself. Your ex moves on. Your kids are without a father forever."
Yeah. That's the truth.
And man, that's what I needed to hear at that time. Like, I can't even explain it to you because I used to look down like, man, how you gonna take your own life? Like, that's so weak-minded, these people. But when you're in it, and when you feel defeated, when you feel like nothing's going your way, and man, it's a dark place.
Yeah.
And she definitely reached her hand in there and helped me get out of there. Like, told me exactly what I needed. And eventually, I stopped trying to live for my ex and for other people's approval, and I started living to be proud of myself and to my kids to be proud of me. And once I realized that I had my kids sign off, I was a hero in their eyes. Didn't matter how anybody else felt.
That's who
about me.
validates you.
Yeah,
That's
for
who
sure.
validates you. And so now that goal you had when you were a young kid and feeling like you were alone and you didn't have family and you were like, oh, I'm going to be a father. I'm going to make a family of my own.
Yeah.
It took you a little bit longer. It took you some more obstacles. It took you going through some more shit to help you appreciate it. But look where you're sitting right now, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
And we talked about our prayer circle at Thanksgiving, this past Thanksgiving in November.
Yeah.
I sat there and I watched you, and I remembered when I was going through this shit. Excuse us, man. Them Stevenson boys are some emotional boys. Let me tell you what. But no, I sat there and I remembered when I was fighting for custody of Maddie, and I was standing in that circle, and there was not a single blood relative of mine standing around me, but I had family. I had Chris. I had Haley. I had Whitney. I had people who loved me, and it didn't matter what God I prayed to or if I didn't pray at all, or none of that mattered. And what we've come to discover, and the reason that I wanted to do All in the Family, parts 1, 2, 3, family is what you make it.
Absolutely.
Family is what you make it. It don't have shit to do with blood. It has to do with going through life together, going through experiences. Everybody sitting at this table, we've gone through shit together, real life shit, okay? Nothing, we live in a world that's torn apart because of politics, because of people who don't agree on shit that don't matter. It don't matter. What matters is that having somebody next to you at your toughest moment to tell you, you know what, you're going to be all right.
Absolutely.
You're going to make it because I got you. And everybody at this table has done that for one another at some point.
Yeah.
So that is the main reason that I wanted to get people to know our circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All in the Family was about letting people know what our circle is like.
Yeah, it's definitely it's describing, why you guys are who you are. It starts with the moms, and then the wives, the women that support you, and then the other people, the family, the brothers, and we've made our own. None of us at this table, other than me and my brother, are blood related. Yeah. But we're definitely family. Yeah. And I've been through it, and I've worried about when I went through my divorce or whatever, like the whole family, all my in-laws. I mean, it was instant done, and that hurt because I had really not been close to my blood family because I'd really been involved in that, and that was hard. And then all those things, they toughen me up, but you learn. Sometimes my problem in life was I wanted to fit people into, that's my brother. That's my boy. That's this and that. And it ain't about what you tell yourself people are. It's about what they show you.
Oh, yeah.
And what they do for you. And when somebody shows you, I used to say, man, if somebody shows you their true colors, for good or bad, you remember what you saw. Yeah. Because it's easy to make it, maybe he was. No, man. If he shows you that dude has some snake tendencies, this guy's not for you, you realize what you saw and distance yourself from that person. But when somebody shows you a type of loyalty, the love and respect, we're all imperfect. We're going to disappoint each other. We're going to get mad. But, man, those are the people you got to hold on to because life's rough sometimes, and it has its ups and downs. And the only way you're going to get over those obstacles is making sure that, that team you keep around you is solid.
For sure. For real. For sure. Well, now that we got all the emotions and the tears streaming out of the way, hey, I'm so glad that you two came on.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I wanna move things to a little bit of a lighter note. I want to congratulate. First of all, it's my brother's 22nd.
This is my 29th birthday.
29th birthday today. Happy birthday, sir.
I appreciate it. And from 2009, like I said, that incident happened. It's be 11 years later, and I'm sitting here with you guys.
Hell yeah, living and breathing. And you guys are now celebrating a year together.
Yeah, your anniversary last weekend. We
Congratulations on that.
Took her to her first Rockets game.
Nice.
Yeah, I messed
up.
Did
we win?
Yeah, we won.
Okay, cool. You gotta take her to play somebody. Sorry.
My anniversary weekend was going so great. I was like, dude, it's my anniversary weekend. I went to the Rockets game. We went and got a hotel in Seabrook. And I was like, man, this is going to be the greatest anniversary ever. The Texans are about to go to the AFC Championship. And then the next day, 5 minutes into the game. Yeah, for sure. I'm like, 5 minutes in the first quarter, I'm like, it's happening. It's happening, baby. And then, anybody knows me, I'm a huge Texans fan. I was let down that day. But we had a great weekend. And it was really a time for us to reflect on how far we come. And some people could probably look at us and be like, man, it ain't about material things. There's some of the most wealthiest people are financially rich people are suffering inside. We're wealthy in love and respect and family. And there's something that you can't buy. And I'm definitely happy where we are right now.
Word. Well, let's see how far you have come.
Go ahead and play that. Go ahead and play that soundbite again.
All right, so let's play a little game called the Newlywed Game. Now, you guys are not married yet, You can tell us if that's in the works, or you can let that be a surprise.
We got to surprise you on that one.
Okay. That's cool. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to find out just how well you guys know one another. I've got a series of questions, Josh. I want you to tell me
Hopefully
how
these are
you
all
think.
about sexual positions.
I want you to tell
That would have
me.
been a great question.
Yeah, I want you to tell me what you think Ileana's answer was to these questions.
All right.
If you are correct, you will hear this sound. Yeah, buddy. Alrighty. If you are incorrect, you will hear this sound. Alrighty. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready.
Once again, this is how you think Ileana would answer these questions. I asked Ileana, what is her idea of a perfect date night? How do you think she answered?
Oh, Lord. I don't know, man. Illy's not really too picky. She, as long as we're together, say go to Longhorn Steakhouse, get a steak, and then have sex.
That is correct. Yeah, buddy. Sure, answer was dinner, movie, and whoopee. Alrighty. All right, good job, dude. You're up one. I asked Ileana, what is your biggest pet peeve with Josh? How do you think she answered that?
Definitely leaving my clothes on the floor. Stuff like that.
Yeah, buddy. Alrighty.
Definitely that.
Yes. Okay. That is true.
I just want to make sure she sees them because I feel like if I don't leave them on the floor, I might not have clothes for work tomorrow if you don't see that they're dirty.
All right. Very good. You're 2 for 2. What is Ileana's favorite Star Wars character?
Oh my man, it's really a toss up, and I hope I get it right. I'm gonna say Yoda or.
You're gonna learn today.
I was gonna say Chewie. Gotta be Chewie, right?
There you go. Yeah, buddy. Okay.
She's
So-
short like Yoda. I'm hairy like Chewie, so I knew it was like.
We'll give you a half a point for that since
right,
you since you answered partially correct. We're
gonna fight all the way home now. You know I don't like Yoda.
Okay. What food does Ileana refuse to eat?
Can I get like a phone a friend or like a clue? Cause there's so many different types of food, and like we eat so much. Like,
Yes.
we eat a lot. Like, is it a main course?
Just
Is
take
it
a
snack?
stab on what you think she would have answered that question.
I know this ain't the answer, but it's true. Chitlins.
Alrighty. She answered oysters.
Oh my
In
god, I
fact.
knew that, dude. She makes me go outside if I eat them. She said they smell like booty.
All right. Speaking of smells, I asked Illy, what smell does Josh's body odor most resemble? How do you think she answered that?
Sexy beast.
It's the
Is that right? Oh no.
You're gonna learn today.
okay.
Either that or a sewage worker. One of the two. Probably.
Close. She said ass. So,
Damn.
all right. There's one question I could not get an answer from her, but I know you'll answer it. I asked Illy to tell us one thing that she would say during sex.
Oh my God. There's really so much. It's like, one thing about, Latin women, they have like multiple personalities. So it's like,
Right.
It might be something in Spanish. It might be, I really want to blast you right now and say something crazy.
I know you would.
You know what I'm thinking about.
Do you have the balls to say it?
I'm going to see. I'm going to say something that doesn't, put her out there too bad. Really, it's probably.
Hey, we can
really
save
not
y'all's
bad.
relationship and just not say it. It's cool. You don't gotta put
Yeah,
that. I'm just letting you know if you actually go on the Newlywed Game, that might be a question that y'all get asked.
One
And if
thing
you
I'm-
really are like right now, you're not competing against anybody, and there's no prize money, no nothing. But if you actually were to do that, money was on the line.
I'll just say that there's reasons why she refused to answer that question.
That's a safe bet. That's a safe bet. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys very much for playing. Thank you for being on the podcast. Chris, this is probably the least you've spoken ever on our podcast.
I'm just taking it all in, man.
I'm glad, man. But this has been fun. This All in the Family series. I really hope that everybody has enjoyed it as much as we have. I hope you feel like you know us a little bit more. I hope you feel like you know our circle,
sure.
where we come from. I've said it before, the best part about doing this podcast is connecting with people. Yeah. I know there's probably some shit we said at this table today that's going to resonate with some people out there.
Yeah,
or maybe they're going through the things we went through now, and they can see the way that we handled it. Yeah. And hopefully we can just be an inspiration. We can inspire people to, maybe there's siblings out there who have some dissension between them. They can use us as an example as you like, you know what, whatever we went through, at the end of the day, what's important is that we're family and that we have each other's back during the toughest times. Yeah, so
definitely another thing I want to say, and I know we're trying to wrap it up, is we talked about is anybody in that situation similar to both of us, going through a divorce or going through a breakup, kids involved, courts and stuff. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're going through that, if you're about to go through that, it really doesn't go our way too much, but hang in there. And try to just, roll with the punches. Don't give up, because like Ileana told me, like, the kids count on us, and everybody, it gets better. I promise you. It gets better. And I'm standing here in front of you as living proof. It gets better.
We are both a living testament to that.
It gets better.
And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
How far you've come. I'm proud of our ability to put aside all that bullshit. I know I used to beat you up. I can still make you laugh before mama gives me a whooping.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm so glad that kept as close as we have, despite all of that. I feel like even when we weren't super tight, I hope you always knew if you were really in a jam, you could always call me. Yeah. I was never going to ignore your phone call and tell you no. Like, even when we weren't best friends.
Yeah.
Anytime you called me or vice versa. Yeah. It was no questions asked. If we was in a jam, we could count on one another.
For sure.
And that's the wonderful dynamic we have about our family, all of us. It's a great thing. Thank you guys so much for being on here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are continuing to enjoy our content, please share it. Let everybody know that the Stevensons, the Clarks, the Stevenarks, as we've dubbed ourselves, are good people. Very entertaining. We say some wilding out shit sometimes, but you know what? All we want to do is entertain, bring people together, and have good conversation. Once again, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go look us up, like, share, comment. Let us know what you think about this All in the Family series. If we have said anything here that resonates with you, let us know. We want to interact with you guys. Once again, Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit is by the people, for the people. Chris, you got anything you want to add over there, bro? You've been sitting quiet. Do you feel entertained? Are you entertained? Are you not entertained? I feel like Gladiator.
He's like, man, I thought my life was rough. I'm glad I ain't live with these guys. Yeah, it's all jacked up.
Just taking a different perspective, man.
Man.
I've never lived through anything like that. Just being honest, my life was like the prime example of humdrum shit. You know.
Yeah, it makes you appreciate when sometimes you listen to other people. It makes you appreciate. And then there's also some things about your guys' lives that kind of mirrored one another. You going through the trouble you went through in school. So you can relate to my brother on that level in a way that I never could.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why I love doing this podcast, man. I love sitting down, having conversations, talking, and just getting to know one another. There's times that I learn things about you guys by sitting here and doing this.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what this whole thing has been all about. So if you don't have anything to add, I'm going to get us out of here from my brother Josh and his lovely girlfriend Ily. My name's Nick Stevenson.
And I'm Chris Clark. We'll see y'all next time.
You've been listening to the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast with Nick and Chris. For more show content, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.